Hi, Marcy Bullock coming to you live from home, talking about graduate school because I'm recording during the pandemic. There's a lot of people saying, should I go into the job market? Maybe I should go on to graduate school. So what does that mean exactly? Well, when you applied to undergrad, you knew what that meant. You mean you were going to be researching different colleges, you were going to see which universities you wanted to attend, and you were going to be picking the one that was prestigious. Of course, you picked NC State. Well, graduate school is very much the same way, but it's to get more knowledge. And you've probably heard in the job market that we're becoming a degree inflated society, which means that more and more people have higher degrees. And when the job market and economy are tight, as they are in 2020, more people think about getting an advanced degree, maybe because they want certain skills, they want to learn a concentrated area of study, or they need it for their profession, or just to do advanced research and go from tool user to tool maker. There are your faculty members in your classes, and there are professional people like your vets and your MDs and your social workers. So sometimes when we talk about graduate degrees, we hear a couple of different terminologies. I want to explain first of all what a professional degree is. So a professional degree is different than a graduate degree. A professional degree are like the ones you see here: Doctor of Vet Medicine, Master of Public Administration, Master of Social Work, Master of Business Administration. A professional degree is training you to do a specific profession, and you need that advanced degree in order to get chosen to do that job. Now, graduate school, like I said, is different than professional school. That's a research program. That is training you to be a research scholar, basically, and to get your master's or PhD, which is a doctoral degree. So the first thing you need to think about is, why do you want to go? Well, sometimes it's like, because the job market is really tough right now. That's why I want to go. But in addition to that reason, you might want to increase your earning power. You might want to influence how fast or how far you can advance in your degree. I know when I came out of undergrad with my bachelor's degree in sociology, I remember thinking, well, here's what I could do with my sociology degree at the bachelor's level. But if I got a master's in counseling, I could be a director of a career center, which is what I am now. So sometimes that goal is easier to attain if you have more education. Maybe you just want to enhance your job satisfaction because with this degree, you can do a job that you'll really love, and it'll give you some flexibility to change careers. More education, more educational opportunities, more career opportunities. And sometimes, like I said, it can be a requirement to be a faculty member at a university. You would need an advanced degree, or for some specific research positions in a government agency or a nonprofit or a company. So what are graduate programs looking for? That's one of the big questions that students has is, well, do I have what it takes to get into graduate school? So when you look at this, it is very similar to when you were evaluated for your undergraduate degree. So we looked at your GPA, we looked at your academic achievements. All of that is going to be looked at. Just like we looked at your SAT, now we're going to look at the GRE or whichever test is required for your specific program. And then we're going to look at, for master's and PhD programs specifically, we're definitely going to be looking at your research experience, which is why you want to reach out to the research office on our campus. Just Google undergraduate research, and Dr. Chris Ashwell heads that up, and they're actually moving to the new tutorial center in the DHL library this coming summer. So when you're on campus in the fall, that's where they will physically be located, and they can help you find research experiences. You also are going to be evaluated based on your emotional maturity, your curiosity, creativity, and passion, your perseverance, absolutely, because it is an exercise in endurance to get through grad school. And also, they want to see what your career goals are and do they match up with this particular program. So grad.ncsu.edu will show you all the programs at NC State. You can go to whichever university you're interested in to find out what they are looking for and how you actually apply. There are some great search tools on here. I was working with an athlete last semester who said, I have an extra year of eligibility because of COVID and I've got my degree done. I think I'll go to grad school, but I don't know what in, but I know I'll be staying here on campus. So she went to this website and did some searches and found some programs she never even knew existed. So if you're starting to look for graduate schools, talk to people. Talk to your trusted mentors, talk to your career advisors, your academic advisors. And then you can go to this website called petersons.com, and you can just type in the keywords of the different things that excite you and see which schools have which programs. Also, if you have a certain area that you're really excited about and you're reading what all the different faculty are publishing, then that might help you decide that that would be a place you want to go, because at the University of XYZ, they just published this article on exactly the biomechanics of the biomedical engineering in the kinesiology of this one specific thing that I'm super excited about. I just kind of made that up, but whatever you're super excited about, you can see who's publishing articles in journals, and you can also visit. You can also look at your own personal preferences like you did for undergraduate. You know, do you want a big school, a small school? What type of campus environment do you want? But I will tell you this, that graduate school, it's a little different than your undergrad experience. It's not like you're so worried about, you know, what the mascot is and the athletics. You're pretty much focused on what you're doing in that particular classroom. So sometimes the university may not be as hugely known, like it's not an Ivy League school or something, but that department has an excellent reputation. And you can look at rankings and things online if you want to see that. But a lot of it can be based on the conversations you have with people. And then you just match your interests, your academic background, and your goals with what they offer and what the prerequisites are to see if you might be a good match. When you're talking to people, you can get a feel for the reputation, how selective they are. And on that website that I just showed you, you'll be able to see something like that for any graduate program that you're looking for. And I'm going to go back and show you that website. And that can be for any school that you're looking at. It will say this is what the minimum GPA is for entering our program. You can also look at funding opportunities. We'll talk about that in part 2 of this video. And then for the last part of our part 1 video, we're going to talk about how you actually apply. In part 2, I'm going to show you this great spreadsheet that helps you to rank all the schools. First of all, apply to the specific program. You want to contact the department, maybe like I said, visit if possible, and then at minimum 3 to 4 programs. Some people apply to a lot of additional programs, and that's just a lot of money to apply. So have your stretch school like you did for undergrad, your safety school, and based on what they say their GPA and requirements are, if the GRE scores requirement, you can see if your test scores match up. And then you're going to submit the requested materials, and you're going to submit the packet on time, especially when you are applying for financial aid, and keep copies of everything. I've had some students that have lost things and they were not considered for graduate school. Hey Wolfpack fans, Marcy Bullock with part 2 of applying to graduate school. Let's get this mic over here so you can hear me. All right, so the admissions process. We've got the application you're going to be submitting to the graduate school, and you're also going to find out that in many cases, the graduate school will send your application to the department that you're interested in. So let's say you want to get your PhD in biochemistry. You apply to the graduate school, but the essay that you write, your statement of purpose, that all is going to be sent to the department that you're most interested in attending. And the department makes the final recommendation on whether or not you will be admitted. So you'll then hear back from the graduate school if you were admitted. So let's think about it this way. When you are writing that statement, you want to write it specifically to the faculty member whose lab you want to work in biochemistry. So maybe you've read their publications, you know specifically that they're doing some work in monoclonal antibodies, and that's what you're most excited about. In your essay, you will address that specifically, and that will give you an edge, especially if you've already visited there. Admission to graduate school does involve you already having your bachelor's degree and taking whatever tests are required by that program. So in many cases, the graduate record exam is required, but for MBAs, it might be the GMAT. There are many different tests, so you'll want to look at that admissions page to make sure that you have taken the appropriate test by the appropriate date. Also, you're going to be asked for references, people that can support you. They may be asked to write you a letter of recommendation, and that may be something that you'll want to think about ahead of time is, who will I ask to be my reference? This is someone that knows me really well. And we have a separate video on getting recommendations, so you'll want to watch that one. Departmental capacity, that will be impacted by whether or not you are chosen, and maybe how many grants they have for teaching assistantships or graduate assistantships. And it is typically a competitive pool. So grade point average, it's usually around 3.0 for graduate school, but some people get accepted lower, so you don't want to close any doors if you are lower. You might even take some post-baccalaureate classes to improve your chances of getting in, but typically they will be analyzing your transcripts. So they're going to look at how you did in all your various classes, and they're also going to look at your performance pattern. So maybe you started off really poorly because you started in the College of Engineering, and then you found out that that really wasn't your passion, and then your grades have gone up, up, up. That upward trend can definitely help you when being analyzed for graduate school. So don't assume they're just going to look at my overall GPA. They're going to look at your performance patterns from start to finish and all of your strengths and weaknesses. So we want to look here at the GRE. There are typically the general GRE tests and the subject test. You might be asked to take one or both. It's very similar to that SAT you took when you were applying to college. International students, you may need to take the TOEFL, so you will want to research the times that those are available and also the scores that are needed for you. So there are some ways that you can improve your GRE test scores. Typically, taking some of the practice exams ahead of time is a good idea. So go to gre.org and look at maybe some software that you can buy, or if you'd like to purchase software programs from a specific place like the Stanley Kaplan Group or Princeton Review, you can also do that. You can also buy those programs ahead of time, and then that can give you an edge, but they're pretty expensive. So if you can study on your own and you're motivated on your own, you don't necessarily have to pay someone else to help you prepare. Now let's get back into those letters. Like I said, there is a separate video on letters of recommendation, but just a quick overview here is you will be requested, like, who will support you for graduate school? You'll be asked that. So you want to be thinking about who you know well enough that can support you, that knows your aptitude for graduate studies. So hopefully you did really well in their course and they can compare you to prior students. Also, you want to think about a letter. Sometimes they fill out a form, but in many cases they write a whole letter, like 4 or 5 paragraphs. I know when I'm asked to write a letter, I typically spend about an hour doing it. So it's someone that you know really well, maybe your advisor, a research supervisor, or someone that taught you in a class. Other people you could ask would be a former instructor, a manager from an internship, faculty members, or people from a department that you wish to enter. The key is who knows you the best. So make sure you check out that video on letters of recommendation before you pick your person, and give them plenty of time to write that letter of recommendation. Then think about the goal statement. That might either be a statement of purpose or a personal statement, and it varies. For example, for medical school, they might call it a personal essay, and that's where you write all about your clear expression of your goals. Now, if it's graduate school, you need to focus on research because that's what you're going to do in graduate school. Remember that if you're getting a PhD, they're investing in you as a research scholar, and they're going to be most likely providing funding for you to get that degree. So you'll want to focus in on what your goals are as related to research and present all the progress that you've had on your career goals. Make sure that everyone has no errors, so spell check misses some things. Make sure that you have that viewed by several different people. You can cite publications. You can also look for ways to improve your essay by having other graduate students read it and give you feedback on it. It's a really important document. Hi, this is Marcy Bullock with part 3 of grad school. Ooh, there's a lot to learn. So, how can I finance a graduate program? This is a really big concern. And I want to remind you that when you're going into a research scholar PhD program, many students get assistantships. This is a surprise to a lot of people I talk to. They say, wait, they pay you to go to grad school? And the answer is yes. So they give you a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship. So you'll want to research that ahead of time. Also, there are opportunities for loans and grants, so you want to check with financial aid just like you normally would as an undergraduate student. Some students also work while they're in grad school, although it's harder to do that in a part-time job, internship, or co-op, but that's an option. Many students also apply for fellowships, and there is a fellowship office at NC State that you would want to reach out to, as well as following up with any other kind of work study finance that you might have. So the experts on this topic, my friends, are the graduate school financial support. So keep that in mind that this is the office that you will want to check off with, and it tells you all about what they offer. So grad.ncsu.edu, and you'll be able to find all of these links about financing your graduate program. Let me tell you a little bit more about these teaching assistantships. So for example, in my office, I have an assistantship available, and I have a stipend for a student, and they work 20 hours a week, and we pay for their tuition and we give them a stipend. Yes, you heard that correctly. That happens in many different departments. It happens in the sciences, it happens in the humanities, and those are the ones that I know the most about. Those stipends can be anywhere. There's a big range, but you don't make a ton of money, but you definitely are able to survive. That's why they call it a starving graduate student. Some people will offer also to provide your health insurance, and there may be, like I said, a 20-hour a week work obligation that you would have. So if you get an assistantship, that is money in the bank. It's fantastic. It helps you so much when you're in graduate school, because that 20 hours a week that you're working in that assistantship, it's related to what you're studying. So for my students, they're studying higher education administration. For example, my last student who did that for 2 years then went off and got a great job in a career center because he had worked in my career center. So that assistantship really helped. Fellowships, grants, scholarships are awards to you. And that's why you want to check directly with financial aid and the fellowship office on those, because you do not have to pay those back, which is fantastic. So this is the quick summary on what we have learned so far in part 3, and all 3 of the parts is work on your GPA, definitely, because that is a first level screen. They will look at the numbers for most graduate programs. Below a 3.0 does not exclude you from admissions. If you are looking for PhD programs, undergraduate research is very important to you, because you might even get a publication while you're an undergraduate, and that looks fantastic on your essay when you write about all that you've learned. Practice for the standardized tests. You can take a course if you have some extra cash flow, or you can do that all on your own. And usually you're taking the test directly on the computer. So that is, get your test scores right away and you find out if you need to take it again. Make sure you have relationships with people who can support you. Those letters go a long, long way. And write out clear career goals. Why do you want to go to graduate school? That's the big question to ask yourself. And some people ask themselves too, should I take a gap year or should I go right away? I personally took a gap year before going on for my master's degree in counseling. And during my gap year, that was a time where I realized how motivated I was and what a dead end I would have if I didn't have that degree, because my career goal required that degree. If you're really unsure about what you want to do in graduate school, taking that year off might be a good idea. But what you do in that year will also be really important. So if it's something totally unrelated and you don't learn any transferable skills, you're not bettering your candidacy for grad school. But if you do something that will be related, maybe you have a volunteer experience, or you have a project that you're working on, or even the job that you get is related to what you want to do, that can help you out. And review your whole package for graduate school. Review all the essays, all of the applications that you will be filling out. With your letters of recommendation, I will remind you that most often you will keep them confidential because people will write the strongest letter for you if you don't read it. So actually, that sounds a little bit strange, but they can say really honest things about what your strengths are and what your areas for growth are. And you don't want a letter that says Jane Doe is perfect, because no one is. You all have growth areas. And that's why the confidential letter is the one that you would pick. But always ask your letter writer, will you support my candidacy? Because if they hesitate a little bit, then you might be thinking that's not the best person for me to have my letter written by. Remembering that getting your PhD is investment as a research scholar. Getting a master's degree, which could be a professional program or graduate program, can also be a prerequisite for the different careers that you are considering. But really understand you're the consumer when you're applying to grad school. So understand what the job opportunities are ahead of time. For example, some of my students have gone to the master's in the Institute for Advanced Analytics at NC State. That graduate program has placed people all over the country in amazing jobs in data. It's all about analytics. It has an amazing reputation. You can go online and you can see exactly where every graduate is working, and usually they have salary data there as well. So as the consumer trying to select the school you want, ask the admissions people those questions. Where are people working from your last cohort? That data is available to you, and that can help you make your final decision. So that is the end of applying to graduate school. Good luck, Wolfpack fans, and don't forget that you can make an appointment with your career counselor by logging on to EPAC, and that will allow you to schedule a one-on-one conversation about all the different schools that you are considering.